Treksploration.
Hello, and welcome back to Treksploration. I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And today we are talking about 1000111100001101.
Otherwise known as 11001001.
Is that the right way to say it? Okay.
Yeah, I have it written down. But I memorized it. It's once you realize the sequence of numbers, they're not hard to remember.
22121. That's almost as hard.
Right.
Bender, there is no 2.
Klondike 5.
Klondike
5.
Block Patch Riverside. Who the hell is John F. Kennedy? Happy Halloween season.
I was going to say, why am I dressed like Marty McFly? Can you explain this to me? So, Albie said that he was going to be dressed like Marty, and then I said, "Do I have to dress like Marty?" And he said, "Well, yeah." So, can maybe we start with the McFly in the room before we go any further?
I'd like to be the McFly on the wall. The only reason I'm doing this is because, hey, it's Halloween season as we're recording this, and this might be our last proper episode. I know we got a couple bonus episodes coming up before Halloween, so I figured why not dress up? And this is what I ordered for my Halloween costume.
Yeah, what is it? Let's see. Back up so everybody can see it.
It is Marty McFly from Back to the Future 3 when Doc dressed him as a cowboy to go back to the Old West, not realizing that he was dressing him like a 1950s TV movie cowboy and not a real cowboy.
I love the little atoms on that outfit. Those are my favorite. Yeah.
Because of the Atomic Kid.
Right. They're so Doc Brown. Brown.
They are. Oh my God. And speaking of, it's October's inventory season at Statler Toyota, which means October is the month where we watch the Back to the Future trilogy at least once.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if you've watched it yet, but the dates that's been on the time circuits for the flux capacitor has been this past week. So our local theater had Back to the Future 2 35th anniversary. So of course I brought Rennie, but you
Back
can't.
to the Future 2?
The movie made for you.
Never heard of it. What are you talking about? Back to the Future 2.
So
not like I made my own hoverboard or anything. Where is my hoverboard?
It's somewhere with your Enterprise uniform.
Maybe.
I almost bought the $300 prop replica, but I'm like, I don't need it. I might need food one day or something, right?
I very well might have thrown it away.
You made one and you threw it away?
I made one. I made one out of cardboard and construction paper. That's where I got the construction paper to do my Captain Archer cosplay on our Enterprise episode. Yes, so it's the cosplay that's I guess it's craft. When you do crafts that are like homemade props, it's not cosplaying. Is that
cosplaying is actually wearing it? But being a cosplayer, part of it is making your own costume. That's like the proper thing. Me, I just order off of eBay or Amazon. This is no way I'm making this.
This is all Goodwill and Savers. I found this all secondhand. I think I made this costume for $15.
This is the outfit you wore while me and Serenity were in the real life, all dancing, all singing musical.
That's true. And I have to say, I want to apologize to everyone that follows us regularly because this is not, you're like, Chris, again, with the Marty McFly thing, especially people who know me. I have like one costume. This is it. I wear it every Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
That's why I made the hoverboard just to kind of recycle it. Mm-hmm. But I don't know what to do for part 3.
It's got to be somewhere. Part 3, there's so many options, but this is the most, I think, standout one. Oh, so long story. So it was, I want to say Monday night, the 35th anniversary, we saw Back to the Future 2. So Sunday night when Rennie got here, she comes either Saturday or Sunday afternoon, depending on the week, 4-3-3-3, 4-4-4-3. So we watched part 1 on the 135 inch. Then we got front row center for the Fathom event. For part 2, which it's kind of stupid to pay like $30 to see a movie that I have on 4K Blu-ray, but it's like the event of the thing, Yeah. And we were front row center. Screen's huge. It wasn't the IMAX screen, but it was about half the size of the IMAX screen.
I love how you go to these things specifically to take all of the benefit of seeing it on the big screen out of it because you're so close that you can't fathom anything that's going on.
Well, if you sit in the back, you might as well watch it on the 135 inch at home, right? So why go?
I wouldn't say the back. I mean, there is a middle of the theater, just so you know. There's a sweet spot.
That's
for you, it's the unfathomable event.
Well, it's not like I gotta watch it. I mean, I've seen it hundreds of times. I paid $100 for it on VHS when it first came out, but that's an old story.
Sounds about right.
So we're watching it, and when you go to Flashback Cinema, which is at another company, the volume is so low. It's like, what are they saying? What are they saying? I think the last one I took Rennie to was The Blob, the original 50s one. And then we saw Back to the Future, but the local theater that runs them is just horrible. The manager never puts the air conditioning on. And the day we went to see Back to the Future, there was a huge like flood puddle in the front of the theater. So like our feet were wet.
Again, other seats further back. You can do it.
Well, now you got to reserve them anyway. But we're like, you know what? I can't be hot in a movie theater. That's ridiculous. It's 2024. So we stopped going there. Now we go to the Regal. But then the next night we watched Back to the Future 3. So this was a Tuesday night on the home screen. And it just is fun to do Back to Future. So then during part 3, I was like, man, I really like to dress like Marty, as a cowboy for Halloween. And I was just like, pulled my phone up and ordered it, and it came. So I was like, we're being Marty McFly for Halloween. So that's a long story.
So I just went into my closet and I got out my trusty dusty Marty outfit, and it's easy enough for me. I just, it's been a little while since we've recorded. Did we want to go into some of the reasoning or what's going on?
Okay. We'll do that before we talk about Star Trek, because people might be wondering. I know a lot of close friends have reached out to me, and it's been a thing. I put a little thing in the last video about when it happened and stuff. There was a little bit of a delay. You might not have noticed it. I think our last video came out 7 days ago because we had been pre-recording things, and we released that great show with the amazing, lovely, kind, funny Allison Pregler. And
thank you, Allison.
Yes, thank you, Allison. She got some more eyes on us, so I'm very happy about that.
True.
So I'm tempted to have her back all the time now. It's just fun.
Listen, she gets the eyes to us, and these Marty cosplays are going to seal the deal. Forget about it.
Well, I feel bad.
Triple digits.
She's spending her time helping us, and we get 500 views, and she does a video and it gets like 30,000 views, 100,000 views, things like that. So, when I came back from New Hampshire, I started feeling really sick. I wasn't sure what it was. Thought I might have caught COVID, tested for that, wasn't that. Thought it might be the flu, thought it might be something. I still don't know what it was, but I got some kind of infection. Apparently it was a bacterial infection because the final cure was antibiotics. But the whole part of it was when I'm type 1 diabetic, and being diabetic, your body just isn't good at fighting off things because it's working to not die from diabetes mostly. So I take insulin to help me with that. But so I just started going downhill, and like I wasn't feeling like myself, but it's happened a bunch of times before in my life, and I just, I make it through it. I recover. And we actually, I think the week before we recorded with Allison, didn't we decide not to go ahead and do a show because I was just feeling so bad or something like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I pulled the plug on that show because you didn't even sound like you. You sounded physically ill.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine you even getting breath to do a sentence, much less carry yourself through an entire show.
The show we recorded with Allison, which was 3 days before this happened, I was out of bed maybe 3 hours, and that recording was an hour of it. So as soon as it was over, I went immediately back to bed. I have a way of, the show must go on and do my best. But yeah, I just couldn't for a while, and I just kept getting worse and worse and worse, and didn't know what it was. And part of it was I was out of it so much that I wasn't comprehending time as well, and I wasn't keeping track of my blood sugar and my insulin, where I thought I was taking my insulin 3, 4, 6 times a day, depending on when I needed it and what I did. I wasn't. I was taking it 3 or 4 times, but it was over the course of a couple days instead of half a day. And and then, so my body, I wasn't eating, and my body went into ketoacidosis, which is very bad. Like, you could die from it if you don't go to emergency room and stuff like that. So I was trying to get better. It wasn't comprehending how sick I really was. And I think I talked to you on the phone when I was a little delirious, and you were trying to.
Yeah, you were delirious. And I said, just hang up with me and call 911. Like, yeah. you gotta go. Yeah. And you're like, no, I'll just go to sleep. And I'm just like, no, Albie, you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah. And I'm just, I hate the hospital. Last time I was there, it was for ketoacidosis. I think I want to say 2018, because at that time they thought I had type 2 diabetes, because they see a fat white guy and they say, oh, you're type 2 because you eat bad or whatever. Don't eat the cookie. But I was type 1. Finally, my doctors ran the tests on me, and they figured out I was type 1, and my body didn't make insulin at all. So where I was trying to make it better with exercise and diet, it still didn't do any good because I was type 1. So my body went into ketoacidosis then. But long story about that is they didn't let me get out of bed for like 6 days the first time in the ICU. So I think I had to use the restroom for like 4 days, and I was in pain, and they were just like, crap the bed. And I was like, I don't think I can, even if I wanted to. You just can't, Yeah,
it's a nightmare. It is. Yeah.
So I was like, no, I need to go. And they wouldn't let me out of bed because I was a fall risk or whatever their thing is. Right. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to go. So I didn't want to go, but this, you were in my head, and what Laura said. And also my sister-in-law is a nurse too. And I was getting like word from her about stuff, because my mother and my daughter were concerned, and she was saying go to the hospital as well. And I'm like, just trying not to go to the hospital because it's just horrible. So I thought I was doing better. I was hydrating. They said I was dehydrated, but before I went to the hospital, I had like 4 different drinks set up, and I was just drinking them in rotation. So I was obviously trying to hydrate, and I thought I was taking enough insulin. I wasn't. But apparently, when the doctors told me later, was when my body was in ketoacidosis, it was just pouring out extra sugar from my fat. That's why it was. I think when the paramedics picked me up, it was over 800, my blood sugar, and it shouldn't be over 200. I think it's more like 100 and something is good.
So we're in the lucky to be alive department here.
Yes. So I got out of bed, and I brought my phone, and I brought my blanket, and apparently I brought Grogu with me because Rennie had given me Grogu to help me get better. And I laid down in front of the front door, and I went to call 911, and my phone was dead because Serenity had plugged it in, but she didn't plug in the other side to a power jack. She plugged it in my PC, and she didn't realize there was no power coming out of the PC if it was off. So my phone was dead. So I just yelled, call 911. So then my mom and my daughter, they're freaking out. And I slowly faded, and it seemed to me like the ambulance was there like within maybe 2 minutes. I live in a pretty suburb, nice town, so they got nothing to do, So they were here. they were here really quick, and the last I remember hearing was my mom freaking out and not able to tell 911 like her address and stuff like that because she was so worried. Because we moved in with my mother to take care of her because she's well advanced age and she just needs help with the little day-to-day things that she couldn't live alone. She'd have to live in a home or something. But for the most part, she takes care of herself. But we help her out with a lot of the day-to-day things. So then I hear Serenity talking to the 911 operator, and they were, as far as I know, they were like on the other side of the room. But I heard as I faded and like into blackness, I heard the Rennie calm, and then I heard the 911 operator, and then I only heard the 911 operator, that part of the conversation. And like I was fading to black and like going down this long black tunnel. And like I had this sense of peace, and like I had done okay, and that Serenity was going to be okay. And I really thought that was it.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I wasn't worried. I have Will set up. I have Rennie will be well taken care of if anything happens to me, but like, I've just felt like she's going to be okay. I think I gave her enough tools to deal with things in her life and be okay. Like, it sucks, but I'm at peace with it. And I felt a sense of relief almost, because I live in a lot of pain and discomfort and loneliness and depression and all these things. So it was almost like a relief. But everything that I normally worry about in my life just faded away. And the only thing I really thought of was my daughter and how much I loved her. And I really thought I was going to die. I have some memories, flashes of the police picking me up, because the police came with the ambulance, and for ambulance people, they couldn't lift me because it was just tiny women, is what I understand. I didn't see any of them, but I remember like feeling like a baby being picked up or something like that. It was weird, but it was I was told later it was the cops that picked me up, the two big burly cops that came in, because my friend Frankie came over later with his husband boyfriend Doug, and they were bragging about how big and handsome the cops were, and I was like, "What? I'm dying here, and you're looking at the cops."
Oh, listen, it's good for them.
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, I have flashes, and I remember I don't remember the ambulance ride. Rennie told me that when I was strapped to the gurney, the last thing I said to her was, always plug in both ends. But I remember the last thing I said to her was, "I love you," because she was saying, "I love you so much." And she was scared and worried. And then I said, "Call your mother. Make sure she comes pick you up. You're good with grandma for the next few minutes." This was before I faded to black. I was telling her these things after I said, "Call 911." Mm-hmm. And I remember a little bit in the emergency room, not much really. I remember them stripping me down. And like, I didn't comprehend this at the time. This is like flashbacks I got later, days later. Because for me, it was that black tunnel. And then I woke up in the ICU, I want to say probably 24 hours later-ish, when they were like running tests on me and stuff. So it like, I didn't technically die, but from my perspective, like wherever your consciousness goes when it's not there, maybe like with anesthesia or something, that's what happened. So it really changed me. And it changed a lot of things, like what I care about and what I don't care about. And now I see a lot of my life is just silly stuff that doesn't matter. So when I got Rennie back the next week, because luckily I think it was 5 days in the ICU, almost 6. Got Rennie back a couple days after that. And we just spent time together. We went to the local beach and watched the sunset, and we just chilled on the sand and different things. I felt so good after getting out of the hospital. Like I think I told you earlier, I could taste things again. It's been years since I could taste and smell. And I was we went to a Subway, me and Serenity, on the way to the beach because she loves Subway. So, and I, it's okay, but I tasted it and it was amazing. And it was giving me shivers down my spine because of the flavors of the bread and the vegetables and the meat and the cheese and the mayonnaise and the vinegar. And like, I tasted everything, and it was like literally blowing my mind. So I thought, hey, maybe whatever happened is for the best. I'm cured. I'm going to do great. But unfortunately, my taste and smell after the next maybe 4 or 5 days out, it just started fading again. And now,
like, what do you think that is? Why would that happen?
I don't know if there's a doctor out there. They gave me broad spectrum antibiotics, IV, for 5+ days. I think that helped cure whatever this is that I've been living with my whole life. Some people talk about, like, I have friends from New Jersey from when I was a kid. I got Lyme disease and possibly co-infections from Lyme disease. And it was before they discovered what Lyme disease is, named after Lyme, Connecticut, because that's where it was first figured out and stuff like that. But anytime I go to talk to doctors about Lyme disease, they always dismiss it because it's not a real thing. And they think I'm crazy if I bring it up, so I just never bring it up. But I think that might have something to do with it, because the cure for that, when they finally figured it out, because they thought I was faking it for a couple years until they realized what it was. Because luckily my mom believed me, and she took me to doctor after doctor after doctor until I got help. I was in the hospital for a few weeks back then when I was like, I want to say 8 8 or 9, somewhere in there. And I was on IV antibiotics then. I think it was tetracycline at the time. And I go up and down in my life. And like this, whatever this infection was, it really felt like that when I was a kid. Cause there was a year I slept all year, basically, you know, like 20 hours a day back then. And that's when the doctors were saying I was faking it somehow. Maybe I just needed rest or something. But like anytime I mention anything like that, doctors think I'm crazy. And I have friends from New Jersey. When I was a kid, and some of the kids died in that town from it, even before they knew what it was and after they discovered it. But I still have friends that I keep in contact, and they struggle. They had it too, and they struggle their whole life with the same things, like searching for words, chronic fatigue, all these different things that are just sucks to live with. But but most of the time I just don't focus on it because I'm just happy to be, you know. But having that like 4 or 5 days where I felt amazing and not affected by anything, like I could do anything. Like I felt like I could have kept up with you in New York City. You know, that's how I felt. And I was like, this is going to be great. I mean, if I get 10 more years like this, it's totally worth whatever happened. But now I'm back to pretty much how I felt before New Hampshire and in New Hampshire. So I don't know. That's it.
Sorry.
But that's why we were delayed for a couple days. And that's why I'm kind of hippy dippy lately. Rennie says I'm a hippie now.
Well, I mean, all of this is a long way, like a prologue to kind of explain why we're doing the shift in the format of the show.
Yes.
If you guys are watching this now, you're seeing what we're considering a dry run for a live performance. We're going to switch to a live model. So this is our as live dry run. We wanted to do it live, but apparently you need a 24-hour notice for YouTube to do that. So we're just pretending it's live, and you guys will get to reap the benefits of us not editing much. But I mean, why did you decide that you wanted to so drastically shift the way we're doing things?
Because I love being a podcast producer, just like Selena Gomez in Only Murders in the Building. But the problem with that is I'm a tad bit of a perfectionist when it comes to post-production, because I want it to look good and I want people to like what they see, and I want them to know we put work and love into everything we do, really. And that started with the Quantum Leap podcast how many years ago, 12 years ago or so, with the audio version. And I would spend probably 40 hours over the course of a couple of weeks or months to get a perfect audio show. And I've been doing that with the Quantum Leap video podcast on YouTube and this podcast. But the honest truth is it takes me a good 8 to 10 hours to get that level of quality out of one of our shows, because we record it knowing it's not live, so we can get the best take, and we go back and we we figure it out, and then I put the best stuff together to make the video. But when I had this kind of epiphany afterwards that, hey, you know, because I always knew my tomorrows weren't guaranteed, but I really experienced not expecting a tomorrow. And then I realized there's like 2 days a week where I just sit there to edit Treksploration for 197 people, 400 people, 500 people, right? And I just realized I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to spend 16 hours a week editing. But I still wanted to talk to my friend, my bestie, about Star Trek, and possibly do that for a career if it ever works out. And people, unfortunately,
you only have me. So if your bestie ever decides to come on, I'll gladly step aside.
Well, my BFF is Serenity, but you're my bestie. I think that's one under BFF. So. I was like, so I called you and we talked, and I just told you what I want to do, and it's just, we'll do it as live. I think we just, because I mean, a lot of people do stuff live or as live, and it just, you know, the warts and all, and it's better representative of the conversation we have, and it's going to save me 2 days a week. And those 2 days, I'm going to focus on either myself or improving my life, or improving Serenity's life, or Serenity. You know, I never did edit the silly stuff like this while Serenity was with me, because that time is too valuable because I only get her for half the week. But
well, I'm gonna tell you one thing right now.
Okay.
In the as live setting, you're leaning too close into your microphone because you just peaked a little bit. Yeah.
Thank you.
So there you go. See, this is something we would normally cut out.
Warts and all.
Yep, warts and all. Yeah, I get it, man, because the amount of time we spent editing the QLP when I took it over with Matt and Allison, a 2-hour show would take me 20 hours in a week.
Easily.
Just to get it out. And then when they went weekly for the new series, and we've had this discussion before, and there's an entire episode of what is it? Oh boy, where I interview you and we talk about editing and whine about editing for an hour. So you can see that at quantumleappodcast.com, or that's the Patreon. I think that's behind the paywall. Regardless.
Less whining, more commiserating, I think.
Yes, yeah. But anyway, so no, I get the time commitment that the editing takes. I think the one thing that's going to really change with us, like, I feel like this is much more loosey-goosey than I ever would be comfortable with in a quote podcast setting.
Okay.
Because we're not technically editing for the ear here. This is more of a visual show. I just happen to be the one that listens primarily to the audio version of it because that's just how I consume my entertainment. I love podcasts. I love audio. I love listening to stuff. Like, I can do stuff and listen to a 3-hour podcast, whereas I will very rarely, probably never sit down and watch a 3-hour video on YouTube. It's just not going to happen, even if I'm in it. So I guess that's a long way of saying that for those of you out there, supporters like me, who like the audio version of the show that you get early, that you get before the video drops for being a patron, it's going to be a bit more rambly, a bit less tight. And you're going to notice that it will take a little bit longer to listen to. And that's good. That's a stupid thing to say, right? Because obviously it might be a little bit longer because we're not editing as tightly, but it's going to feel longer and you'll get used to it, or you won't. But this is just the way it's going to be because we can't spend 20 hours a week of our lives when we know how precious and fleeting the time is.
Yeah. Now, if we ever get huge and we got money coming in, that's real money, then we can pay somebody to edit it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But for now, 100%. I have to live every day like it's my last, even more so. Like I did before, because you know me, I just, okay, New York, sure. Train, you want to take? Let's go to New York on a train. That's fine. What's that do? But now, seriously, every moment is a gift and something I didn't expect to have, and I don't want to sit in front of a computer and edit, other than my day job, because that's what I have to do to earn a living. But that's different.
Yeah, no, but of course. And the thing is, for me, this is really your journey, brother, because for me, this has always been an As Live show because you gave me the luxury of just getting on mic, talking to you for an hour or two, and then getting up and walking away. And I've never really had to do much other than maybe write a couple of synopsises.
You do a lot of
rundown.
You do pre-production. Kind of you do the pre-production and the writing, and I did the grunt work.
Yeah, well, I mean, somebody's got to at some point, or maybe we don't. But this will just be the next phase. We'll see how it goes, and I think it's going to be fine. Quite frankly,
it was the middle ground between not doing it anymore, but then I wouldn't get to talk to you as much.
So we wouldn't be able to show everybody how witty we are. The 135 people watching, that's why you're here, right?
Do we have anybody watching? It is possible to watch.
Well, they're not going to even
recording.
Yeah, I do. You put out a link.
We have no one watching.
Yeah,
that's fine.
That's always the expectation.
Yeah.
What they say is YouTube, like nobody's watching. In our case, it's the literal truth. That's fine.
All right. So that's the story, and that's what happened. And thank you, everybody that reached out, sent care packages, sent cards. My goodness, I got such a response from everyone, and I still haven't answered everyone that reached out to me. I haven't been spending a lot of time in the online. I've been spending more time in real life.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's healthy.
Yeah. So that's why we're just like Marty McFly.
Okay.
No, I don't know.
No, because what you related was very heavy.
Why is everything so heavy in the future? Must be a problem
with
the Earth's gravitational pull.
Must
be. So we had a great week, me and Rennie, watching Back to the Future 1, 2, and 3, and she loved it. Her favorite is 3 still, which surprises me because usually kids nowadays don't like Westerns. I don't know.
That's odd.
Maybe the pendulum's swinging the other way.
Maybe she likes the Clara stuff.
Maybe. Oh, man. Oof. Anyway.
I think you like the Clara stuff. Wait, whoa.
Clara
I think we
Clayton,
just discovered something.
Clara Clayton. I like Lorraine Baines McFly. She's my favorite. I got to say.
Gotcha.
In the 50s. Not in her 50s, in the 50s. So today we're talking on Treksploration about Star Trek, Treksploration, and it's TNG, The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 15, 11001001. And that is the name of the episode. It doesn't roll off the tongue. But the Bynars episode. Original air date, February 1st, 1988. Writers, it was written by Maurice Hurley and Robert Lewin and directed by Paul Lynch. Just like
you mean Ensign Lynch?
Just like you did. I wonder if Ensign Lynch was named after Paul Lynch. Probably. They name a lot of people after people.
I choose to believe that Ensign Lynch was named after Paul Lynch.
Yeah, me too. Okay, Chris, could you give us the episode synopsis for 11001001?
Okay. We're not going to be able to edit this, so I have to read slowly and surely,
purposely, but you can do it. And if you mess up, so does everybody else. So it's okay.
Yeah, you know what? I haven't even looked at this since I wrote it. I wrote it a week ago. Okay.
To me, you were the most human. How does that go?
Of all the souls I've encountered in the universe.
Yours was the most human. You can give my eulogy later what it would have been.
All right, let's light this firework. In TNG's most spectacular FX shot to date, the Enterprise docks at Starbase 77 for some routine maintenance. Taking charge of computer upgrades are an alien race known as the Bynars. The non-binary, genderless beings are so interconnected with their homeworld's master computer and one another that they travel in mentally linked pairs and communicate in binary code. The forced downtime gives the crew an opportunity for a little R&R, and Riker heads straight for the holodeck. The Bynars are anxious to show off improvements they've made to the system, and soon Will is playing trombone in a smoky 1950s New Orleans jazz club for an audience of one. The sultry minuet. Will is instantly smitten, but is almost as quickly Spock-blocked by Picard, who just wanders in without knocking or anything. Minuet enchants Jean-Luc just as easily, and soon the men are commenting on how realistic Minuet seems, as if she isn't even there, which is just kind of rude, you know? Meanwhile, on the bridge, the ever-vigilant Ensign Crusher is keeping watch over the Bynars when he notices a slight issue. The magnetic containment field around the antimatter in the warp core is apparently deteriorating. Geordi and Data confirm they evacuate the ship and send it far, far away from the starbase before it blows up real good. But just before the ship warps off, they discover two things. The magnetic field is repairing itself, and Riker, Picard, and the Bynars are still aboard. The captain and first officer soon discover that shenanigans are afoot and vow to suss out the Bynars' nefarious plan or self-destruct the ship trying. This time, for the first time, on Star Trek, The Next Generation 11001001. Right? What are those Twiggies up to? Those I'm going to say they're almost like Telosian Twiggy.
A little bit. Yeah. I found it interesting that they were like non-binary, but yet they were the Bynars.
Right? They spoke in binary, but they were non-binary.
Right. It's very interesting. And maybe they were a little ahead of their time, or maybe they just like looked up words. I don't know. Great episode synopsis, Chris. One thing that stuck out there for me was just how Geordi was so nonchalant in this episode about the warp core going to explode and
right. I think it's just like Wesley saying, I noticed a slight problem. I thought I should tell you about it. Like, isn't the magnetic? Isn't that like that's like what keeps everybody alive is keeping that antimatter from touching regular matter.
Yeah. And I was, I like his take better later on, where he's like, "We've got a cooler link at number 4 MMR," and he's sliding and doing, Indiana Jones under the door, and everything's freaking out. That's what it should have been. But anyway, let's start. Let me see what's next. I think it's first impressions. First impressions. The Bynar episode.
I have to say that this is one of the most interesting, compelling, and better episodes of season 1. I really, really like a lot about this episode. And I think I don't know that it requires a deep dive even. I just think there's so much interesting stuff going on the surface of this episode that gives us a lot to discuss when it comes to character, when it comes to a little bit of world building for next gen, when it comes to just getting an alien species that is so unique to the Trek milieu, the Trek universe. A lot of good stuff going on here. How about you? What do you think of the Bynars episode?
I love this one. Like, I've always loved this one, but again, a new appreciation when we're going through like this. And I remember loving it as a kid, but to me, I always dismiss it because it's part of season 1 and 2, but there's some good ones in there. And I think this is one of those. I was young when this came out, but I kind of like for the first time understood what love was, what disappointment was from this episode. Cause I kind of saw myself as a Riker back then, much like bearded Boimler. But Minuet, the actress who plays her, what is her name? Carolyn McCormick. Is that right?
It's down bottom. I wrote it down again a week ago. Everybody. I'm sorry.
Carolyn McCormick. Yes. Who plays Minuet. I think one of the 2 women that Riker's loved, right? Only 2. And who knows who he loves more. But I love the episode, and I love how it's like almost like a proto Data's Day, but instead of following Data later on, we follow Riker. And I know everybody gives Data's Day such a good credit as being almost a perfect episode. But this is the same thing for Riker, and I think it sets up a lot and new things. And like the main thing is almost the B plot, the Enterprise being stolen. I think it's more about following Riker and who he is as a person. And I think we learn a lot more about Riker. And I got to say it, Minuet, unbelievably gorgeous. Probably one of the 3 women who gave me the type of woman I like. Maybe her, Miss Elizabeth from WWE, and I guess Phoebe Cates.
Well, Phoebe Cates, what a dog. Bow, wow, wow. Before you start playing your trombone any harder, we're going to tell people how to reach us. You can subscribe, you can like, you can share. Go to youtube.com/@Treksploration. That's where you are now. If you're not here now, it's because you're listening on the feed from the Patreon site. That's patreon.com/Treksploration. That's where we have our main hub of discussion for all of the episodes of Treksploration. We want to hear from you about what you think of 11001001. You can also tell us what you think on Instagram at Treksploration Pod. You can hit us up on X at Treksploration. Email us, treksplorationpod@gmail.com. Call me on the phone, 707-847-6682. Do not speak in Bynar. I won't be able to decode it. You have to speak in plain old English. 707-847-6682. And you can always send us a missive at P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. And I think that the Buy Me a Coffee link is finally active.
Yes.
Okay, so that's buymeacoffee.com/Treksploration for the olds listening out there like me. Can you explain what Buy Me a Coffee is?
Basically a tip jar. And of course they probably take a cut just like Patreon and YouTube does. So whatever.
Gotcha.
Just another way to keep us going, keep us afloat. Right. I know we are rebuilding our server right now so we can get our website up and serve all our Baron Space and our Treksploration, different things up and running. And so Morgan, the guy, Morgan Feldon, who made the hand link that's behind you, yep. He's really helping us get that going, and that takes funds and stuff. So that's partly what we're using the funds for right now.
Morgan's always been great to us on the Quantum Leap podcast.
Really
just a good friend of our creative endeavors.
Just great
Thank
person.
you, Morgan.
Yeah.
So we want to thank Morgan, but we also want to thank our existing crew of intrepid Treksplorers. That includes our cadet Listen Linda, our 1701 members, their lieutenant commanders, Scott Seligman, Cosplay Dad, One of All, Fantasy Fan, and of course, our captain, our esteemed Captain Charles from Texas. Captain Charles. And we'd like to thank everybody who goes over to the Patreon site and contributes or just joins into the community. You don't have to become a subscribing member monetarily in order to follow us there. You can just like and follow us there. It's fantastic. I love that they put that option up there because it takes the pressure off, you know?
Yeah. And if you can't donate, what helps us out big time is sharing. Share those YouTube videos. That's going to help. The bigger the audience, the better for us to keep going.
The Albie almost dying story is going to put us over the top. That's going to go viral. So I think that
I didn't die, but I thought I died.
You sort of died. You kind of died.
When I look at it, I think of it as a near-death experience, even though I could have died but didn't die. Thank you to the paramedics, the police, the emergency room staff, the nurses, the doctors I wasn't happy with, the system I wasn't happy with. The nurses were amazing.
Did you see Crowley or Castiel? That's what I want to know.
I saw a giant kind of a bear, and it was maybe a koala.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So I tried to cross the streams of fandom. We're all over the place tonight. Back to the Future, Star Trek. Anyway, I want to encourage everybody to go to any one of the venues that we just mentioned, however, to discuss what they think of this episode. This is usually where we do feedback, but surprise, surprise, Angel One didn't elicit any kind of strong opinion from anybody anywhere ever. So what makes us think that it would get us feedback for our take of it?
I'll take the blame. I'll take the blame for that because I did finish editing it before the whole situation happened, but I didn't make the thumbnail. So I think one of the last things I requested from you was, can you release that? And
I did. And then I realized there was no thumbnail.
Yeah.
And I was just like, well, shit, I can't call him in the hospital. He can't make a thumbnail in the hospital. and I don't have Photoshop, so I don't know how to do a thumbnail. And,
yeah. You know. So, but in the long run, it'll probably catch up. But did you see like our disco episode got a bunch of views after? It was weird. I don't know what's going on.
I want to apologize to everybody that we have to talk about disco occasionally. We did not get any responses to Angel One, but finally, we got ourselves a letter up in the post office box.
We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Meow. I think that's how that goes. I'm not sure.
So this is a missive from our cadet, Linda. Listen, Linda. She sent us.
We love
Listen, box Linda. And it was because of this that we discovered that the P.O. Box had been inadvertently shut down, even though I renewed it. So thank you, Linda, for this proof of concept. Now we know that we can get mail there. So I have no idea what's in here.
It could be. I know we've asked for underwear. We've asked for hot bananas. We've asked for what else? What comes?
I've asked for a manifesto.
That's important.
So let's see what Linda. This is a little small for a manifesto, unless it's digital. It could be her digital manifesto. But again, anything. I have no idea what's in here. It could be anything. I hope it's not anthrax. All right. This is kind of our first unboxing.
Yeah.
Wow. Where's the thing?
We've done unboxings, but I'm not sure. Sure. This is our first thing we got in our post office box that we unboxed from Treksploration. Previously, we got one from Narissa Lee. We got a nice card.
Yeah, we got a nice card. And we've got a couple of things from the Quantum Leap podcast fans out there that go to the post office box. So we want to thank them for that.
Yeah,
but Linda, you hold the distinction of being our first physical mail Treksploration. And these things are impossible to open, but I'm going to get it. There we go. There we go. Oh, it's the Watchtower. No, I'm kidding. Have you heard the good news? Oh, all right. So I'm going to do this in phases, in steps.
Make sure there's no addresses anywhere on the inside.
Right. No. Okay. There's a little postcard in here that starts with a beautiful message from Linda.
Aww.
Can everybody read that?
Yeah.
She writes, "You're always there when I need you."
Thank you.
So it's a little squirrel. He's cute.
Those prairie dogs, maybe?
Prairie dog? Oh, yeah, maybe prairie dogs. Sure.
I would say prairie dogs. Yeah, those are cool. They have a whole soap opera thing going on. I watched it once. I like it.
Do you think that are they just getting into a relationship? Are they breaking up? What are these prairie dogs doing? It's hard to tell.
I think they're both on watch, and they do have some chemistry, but because of their positions, they can't really do anything about it. So it's like that sexual tension that's always there. So hopefully after one of them either gets a different job or a different assignment, they'll be able to connect.
Gotcha. Okay, well, she writes, there's a nice little letter in here, and I haven't seen this before, so we're going to read it live here on the air. Live
for one person. We do have a viewer right now.
Linda writes, "Dear Chris and Albie, I wanted to drop you a note saying thank you for starting this podcast. I came to know you through the Quantum Leap podcast, and I completely understand your decision not to continue with it. However, I knew I would miss you. Imagine my joy when I discovered Treksploration. I found QLP late when you already had several followers, so I am happy to help support your new endeavor. Good luck. Listen, Linda." Aww. And yes, Linda, thank you so much. Thank you for following us over. Now I have something here, Albie. I didn't expect this. She writes, their second envelope in this is a gift for Serenity. I pre-stamped it in hopes that, Chris, you can get it to Albie. So I have something here that is going to come to you, and maybe we can have a second unboxing when Rennie gets it.
We'll do it.
All right.
Actually send it out this time, not like the registration card. So then we can unbox it hopefully next week.
So here's a tease. It says Serenity on it, and it's pre-stamped. So we have the entire. Yeah, this is awesome. Well, thank you, Linda, so much. Linda. This is a beautiful card. It's where it's going to go back on my shelf here, right next to my card from Nenrissa Lee. So, so there we go. And I have another card from another one of our QLP listeners. So I'm getting a growing collection here. One of the good things about having the PO box here in my neck of the woods is I get to keep all the cool stuff. But Linda was good enough to, so she sent this for Serenity. I'm going to drop this in the mail immediately. No, not immediately. It's like 11. It's
that'd be
midnight.
A boring live stream. He's been gone for 90 minutes. Okay, he's back. She sent a self-addressed stamped envelope. Send a self-addressed stamped envelope to Pueblo, Colorado, 81009. You remember that commercial as a kid?
I do, yes.
I did. I did once. Did you ever do that?
Did you really? No. I'm trying to think if I ever sent away for anything when I was a kid. And if I did, I can't remember what it was. But it'd be interesting to have.
I got the X-ray specs, which was just red feather in between paper. It wasn't real. But it
no.
Yeah.
You mean you couldn't see boobs?
Nope. The back of boys.
Well, then what's the point? God damn it.
What's the point? Now that I'm an adult, I can see boobs anytime I want. Of course, they're digital, but that's fine. Speaking of digital boobs, Minuet. Oh, my God.
Segue of the ages, my friend, Minuet. So this is one thing I want to talk about. Holodeck questions. I have so many holodeck questions, but where do you want to take this? You begin.
Again, they mentioned how much an improvement and upgrade that we got.
Yes.
So it's an upgrade past the upgrade that we got previously that Picard was so interested in and had the lipstick on him and the city blocks.
blocks. Yes, those. We don't have infrastructure in the 24th century. No. It's all floating bubbles and clouds. Cloudscape. Endless cloudscape.
One thing that's jumped out at me was that this was holodeck 4, not holodeck 3. And I don't remember an instance of Riker saying, "I'll be in holodeck 3" when he's horny, like later on in the seasons. And he mentions to Minuet, he says, "How real are you?" And she's like, "As real as you need me to be."
Yes, as real as you need me to be. Now, I have to ask, with everything that was going on in The Big Goodbye, how realistic it was, are you telling me up until this point, are we witnessing, just let's talk about the elephant in the room, the boner in the room. Are we witnessing the birth of being able to have realistic sex on the holodeck? Like, were you not able to really bone satisfactorily in there until now?
That's what I'm picking up on. And which is surprising. It surprises me because at least at our point in current human evolution, anytime we have a new technology, the first thing we do with it is try to use it for porn.
Yeah, I feel like technology's progression is porn, Star Trek, mainstream. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah. Like when I got the Meta Quest 3, right? I took a tour of Philadelphia. Right. I went to, I won't go too far.
just be careful.
Okay. We are as live. I took the tour to Philadelphia. I went to Red Square. I went to China. I went to Japan. I did hang gliding and stuff like that. But it wasn't but a week before I thought to myself, wait a minute, I wonder. And,
okay.
Dot. But there are places you can go and actually have dates with people, with beautiful women, and go on the town with them, have dinner with them, watch a movie with them, and it's all virtual reality, and it's like a holodeck. So you can really form, at least temporarily, like a cure for loneliness. You can form a little bit of a, what do they call that? It's not parasocial, because that would be in a real person. I don't know. But you can trick your mind into thinking you're on a date with a lovely woman.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask you. This isn't like a chat meetup kind of thing where you're liaising. This is,
they do have live live
you're talking about
that are in 360 and everything also. Which is interesting.
This is a pre-recorded girlfriend experience.
Yes.
Gotta think. So maybe that's what the holodeck was. I don't know.
You would think the holodeck would have already done that, unless literally Riker was only getting off watching women play the harp.
Well, yeah. I mean, maybe not only.
Not only, but that's one of his kinks, harp,
right.
harp play, as they call it. But I think we saw the birth of sex in the holodeck, at least in TNG.
Or good sex in the holodeck.
Yeah. But of course he went back later on to skip ahead, and it wasn't Minuet. And I thought to myself, probably on the third viewing, I thought to myself, this week, the third viewing, I probably thought to myself, well, she's close enough.
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
Oh my goodness! Did you go skiing in the holodeck, or
I did? It's my Klingon sneeze. It's my Klingon sneeze. I'm really sorry.
Okay.
So yeah.
So I think the one that wasn't Minuet, so disappointing. Yes, but it would have worked for. So who knows how long Riker before he came back to the bridge?
Yeah, I mean, so the Bynars. I guess maybe this fits in with maybe the overall thing that's going on. They had to dump so much data into the Enterprise memory core, the computer core. Do you think it was just that sheer amount of complex data in there that was able to sort of supercharge the holodeck to make that Minuet experience as real seeming, as charming, as all encompassing as it was for both Riker and Picard? Because in many ways the computer is manipulating them, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to. They're definitely being held there in a gilded cage,
because the Bynars programmed it to do so. Right. I think that the Bynars just have a better AI program, probably, and that's what they quickly beat into the holodeck to make it more realistic. But it could be another thing I thought of. Like, we're seeing this, like previously holodeck things like the Big Goodbye and different things, and a keto fight. But we're seeing those things like from their perspective, and they're not able to do CG stuff back then and pixelate stuff. It would have looked like that Money for Nothing video. So we're kind of seeing like dramatic license of real people playing computer programs. So maybe in real life, if it was real life Star Trek, like the quality is just jumping up, and he mentioned the smell and the warmth. I think, did he say warmth? I'm not sure.
I don't recall. I would assume that it was all there. I assume that it was even realer than the real thing, or no distinguishable difference, like any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from vagina. So I think that's where Riker was going for this.
One thing I loved about the beginning of when they when Picard goes to just walk in on Riker, it's good it wasn't a little bit later. But
that's another question. But go ahead.
But that look between the two guys, and like I'm a guy, I've done that look, right?
Yeah.
with a buddy of mine looking at a beautiful woman. And that was a look. So to me, that meant a lot more than all the descriptions of how advanced it is. They were like, "Oh my God, are you looking at that? Are you seeing that?"
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah.
And I just love that moment. So I just wanted to say that. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, a million times that look has passed between friends.
We may have done it on the island.
It's universal. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
But that was another wonderful moment for me because it spoke to two very specific things in the episode. Number one, they're both blown away by how real this is, and it seems to be something new. But number two, it's, I think, one of the very first times we see any kind of shorthand, nonverbal shorthand between Will and Jean-Luc that shows that they have something more than a captain first officer relationship.
Yes.
And the fact that Jean-Luc just kind of walks in is a douche move. But if you're thinking in terms of this maybe being the first time you can realistically get intimate in the holodeck setting, there are no locks on Storybox in the 24th century, because it's all part of, and is this is what that's why I'm wondering does this mark a turning point for holodeck etiquette? Because we know that Roddenberry made it a point specifically to make it so that sex was just another normal part of life. And I think that's why you had Alea come into next gen with not next gen to TMP with her oath of celibacy intact, but here's hyper sex right in your face. And then you have Deanna, who is just basically an Alea takeoff, doing the same thing when it comes to nudity and intimacy and like that whole where I'm going to say Bajoran, not Bajoran, Beta Z thing. Yeah. So, where do you like in the context of the universe, like where do you place this?
Say that again.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I know. I just started. I did start with a point. With a point.
I was sorry. My brain went to Menage a Troy. And,
okay. I know. I was talking about like hot chicks, and I was just rambling on. So I guess just to back up for the benefit of everybody, I feel like even though sex is not taboo in the 24th century, you're not going to have like group orgies on the holodeck. You're not going to have just like a setting where somebody could just walk in. So do you think now that this marks a turning point for holodeck etiquette?
I think so. I think so. I think maybe that's why Riker always goes to holodeck 3, because maybe that's the one that locks, or the one that's set aside to so not to walk in on people. Yeah.
Well, that could be one of two things, right? So you got to figure if anybody says, "Oh, and lock the arch behind me," anybody going to that holodeck, oh, he's boning in there. She's having sex in there. They're getting it on, or do you just have the one holodeck where you're not allowed to walk in without knocking, no matter what? It doesn't lock, but you have to ask for entry. And so in that case, you could be doing anything in that holodeck at any given time without the fear of being interrupted if you don't want to be interrupted. I think that would be more equitable.
Yeah. Maybe they just hang a sock on the outside of the door.
They put a hanger on the doorknob.
Yeah, just
space hanger though. It's a space hanger.
Space hanger. It's like sparkly and silver. So, I think Riker fell in love, and I think we have evidence later on in the series about that. What do you think?
I think that it was a singular experience for him. I don't know if I could say that he fell in love. I'm not sure that you can fall in love, even though I kind of fell in love with at first sight with Laura, and we're still together. But
Laura, gorgeous.
Love takes time, according to that song that I heard in the 70s growing up. Maybe it was the early 80s. But
how's it go?
Love takes time, something like that. It's kind of like a soul hit.
I'll check it out. Send me the vinyl.
You probably heard it in the back of your Buick a million times when you were driving around Florida in the 70s, or you were in Jersey at that point. Maybe you didn't hear it. You had Lyme's disease. You were sleeping.
Lyme disease, not Lyme's disease. Every time a doctor says Lyme's disease, I go next. I just raise my hand and go next. If you don't even know what it's called, you're not qualified to help me. Anyway,
I thought that you were just simultaneously, like spontaneously sprouting limes out of your
people think that, or I eat too much key lime pie. You can't eat the cookie. Don't eat the cookie.
So no, I guess like to me, like love is a very strong emotion, a very strong condition to put upon something that is so new and so novel. Do I think he's smitten? 100%. Do I think he's just thrilled at the entire experience because everything about it is so novel and so fresh and such a rush? Definitely. Dopamine is flying all over the place, as is testosterone, as is every sense that he has is heightened in this environment. So Minuet is just one aspect of the entire thing, I think.
One of the, like you mentioned, the Bynars look like the Telosians a little bit. You think they reached into his mind or had the capability to make the perfect woman for him? No, okay.
No, I don't think. Yeah, I think that they're sort of opposite of Telosians, right? Okay. Because they know how to work their shit. Telosians don't really know how to do anything. They need to breed humans to rebuild their population.
But the Bynars don't build backup systems that have like optical media or something that won't be affected by EM pulses. But anyway, did you watch? Because I know your TNG rewatch. I interrupted it. Did you watch Future Imperfect yet?
I'm trying to. I don't remember which one that is.
That's the one.
Oh, that's the one with the kid from Dream On.
Yep, kid from Dream On, and Riker wakes up 30 years from now, and he's married to Minuet.
I have seen that one. I'm not sure if I saw it on my rewatch because I think
he's Minuet's widower. I think. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. And then they show her, and I picked up from context clues that this was a holodeck program or something. And I don't recall having seen Future Imperfect again. But when I saw 11001001 for the first time, because this is one I'd never seen before on my initial rewatch or watch of Next Gen, again, I had a lot of holes in season one because I didn't watch it. And this was one of the few that I hadn't seen through osmosis or had any kind of previous experience with or even fan knowledge of. Because you get to have a general sense of everything that's happened, even if you haven't seen the episodes. If you stay in fandom long enough, you get to know the broad strokes. You do get to know episodes generally. This was one that completely new to me. I had no idea that they ever did it. I had no idea what it was about. And maybe that's why I liked it so much, because
I love when that happens.
I had no bias going in. So it was just a breath of fresh air, much like Will's experience on the holodeck. Mm-hmm. Watching this was just such a wholly unique new experience for TNG for me at that time, especially in the context of season one, when things are still loosey-goosey, when things could still be really interesting. This was interesting in so many ways. It wasn't locked down yet. So
I think that he might have felt an infection. It might have been just because it's so more advanced. I know myself, I've been alone for like 9 years now. And when I first put those goggles on and went on a date, I did have some, feelings towards certain women I dated. I liked some more than others. Some were nice and kind. Some were funny. But like, I almost felt like I was doing something wrong if I switched to another woman I was dating. So I think, and that's just me wearing goggles on my head. So I think if you're in a holodeck, it would be very easy for your brain to fool itself.
Yeah, especially since if you have a combination of the way I think holodeck works is a combination of hard light technology and transporter technology. So some of the stuff you're interacting with is like photon fields. Some of the stuff you're interacting with could be materialized. Well, so who knows,
We know just a few years later that everybody's using the holodeck for that because Boimler has to clean out the, stuff left over in the holodeck when they goes, which makes no sense to me. Maybe it's a joke, but you would think they would just like recycle the matter or something.
I have to clean out the splooge trap.
Yeah,
anyway,
basically.
Yeah. I mean, so I am. It brought up a lot. I'm just looking through my notes again because it's been a week.
Sure. Me too.
But yeah, no, it just brought up a lot of really interesting questions and a lot of very big philosophical questions. Because again, where this episode ends up, if we're just going to keep on the theme of the minuet and the relationship, and how real is it? I'm as real as you need me to be. Mm-hmm. That whole alluring thing. At the very end, when he goes back and the Bynars are gone, and he kind of shakes his head, it's close, but it's just not the same. Is it not the same because for whatever reason, the holodeck, even though it was part of its program, why can't the holodeck recreate at least the physical form of minuet, even if it's not as real? Why does it? Why can't they even get the look down? Like, what's with that?
So that might be a clue that program was retransferred to the Bynar home planet or something. But like, I'm very good at backing up, maybe because I earn a living and lived digitally a lot. So anytime there's something I don't want to lose, I always make a backup. But he didn't think to make a backup. I guess average day-to-day things he didn't have to. But there should have been I pictured, I don't know if Memory Beta has something on this, but there could have been a whole novel of how like Riker has some kind of crisis and just wants to get back to that moment and finish that evening or continue that relationship. Mm-hmm. And he goes to like Bynars and tries to pay Bynars or intimidate Bynars to help him get there. But then I was thinking it's in the computers, because even if you deleted it, it's not deleted. You can undelete it. And that brings up another problem later on in the episode, but it
would be in the holomatrix somewhere. It would be stored.
Yeah, we just got to remember these stories were being told by guys in their 60s, probably by then, that grew up in generations before that only barely had concepts of technology, and we're viewing it from our view of technology today, which was much different than the much more analog technologies that were around back then.
I think that it was a deliberate choice. And I'll tell you why, because this episode to me brings up one of the central questions that Star Trek is always asking. How much technology is too much technology? When does a human cease to become a human because they're not struggling, they're not striving? So the fact that you can have a hollow fantasy world and be okay with it, which is kind of what they're alluding to here. I'm as real as you want me to be. What difference does it make if it feels right and no one's getting hurt and it's enriching you? Then why isn't it right? Just because it's photonic fields and force fields and maybe a little bit of replicated matter? I don't know. And then it seems like the episode is going to great lengths in many ways to go against the Star Trek grain to say, hey, maybe this is okay. And then at the very end, they do the 180 and they pull the same old Star Trek bullshit, which is just like, nope, not real. Therefore, not worth our time. Some relationships just can't work, is what Riker says. So they come down once again on the side of, technology is great as a tool, but we can't really get too enamored of it. We have to always be digging our ditches out here in Starfleet. There's mines to be mined. There's hordas to kill. So
no kill eye. I didn't like that. I didn't like that because Riker was feeling real loss and pain at that moment, and I could tell that. Great job again by Jonathan Frakes. He killed it in this episode. But yeah, that was kind of just like dismissing his pain, and that was kind of like a dick move. And then later on, of course, we meet Vic Fontaine. We meet the Doctor, and what they're talking about and not being real in this and stuff is probably offensive a good decade in the future when holograms are sentient, and we don't even know was Minuet sentient. That could have been. I don't think so. Yeah, because the way they talk about her, where she's sentient, that's one of the things that kind of turned me off about it. And I made fun of it in the synopsis. The fact that
they talk about her as if she's an object, as if she is a computer. And she is. She is a computer program. She's not, quote, real. And they're sitting at a table in front of her talking about how realistic she looks and how uncanny it is that she can respond in the moment, not just with pre-programmed answers. And the fact that she was so real made that seem unbearably crude. Like, why would you speak about someone as if they don't exist right in front of them?
Like, you want her to say, I'm right here.
Right. She does. You're right. Asshole. I'm right here. You can ask me. Don't talk to him about me in front of me. You know?
The first time I watched this recently, this past couple of weeks, I noticed for the first time that Minuet was kind of like freeze program kind of mode, but not really. And it was confusing me. I was like, is she supposed to be still, or is she supposed to just be waiting for the next input? Because she was kind of moving. They didn't really have the freeze program effect down yet or whatever. She was just kind of trying to stay still behind them.
Yeah. I feel like she was programmed to respond, but also, and this could speak to a lot of misogyny, and now you're talking about old guys. Women should be seen and not heard, speak when spoken to, and in any way just cater to what the male gaze requires at that moment.
Let's hope they want to.
It's like if it's at a point where it's like, shh, the men are talking, then you sit at the bar like a good little lady until the men come back to you to talk about how hot you are right in front of you. You know, so that to me struck of, again, it kind of struck the wrong note for the sensibilities of the 24th century as they've been presented so far. It was a real throwback to a very 60s mindset to me.
Let's hope it's not that, because I want to think Gene was more advanced than that. Of course, he wasn't working on this, as we
exactly, yeah.
But
and who knows what Maury Hurley? I mean, I've seen interviews with the guy. Who knows what the hell he was thinking?
I want to say it's more like you're in a video game and you're talking to your buddy that's playing the video game with you. Like when Rennie and I were playing some kind of Viking fighting dragons games in VR, because she's got a headset too. Like we were talking next to each other as we were trying to kill the dragon that was breathing fire on us and melting the ice we were floating on and stuff like that. So I would personally take it more like that. Like she's not real. You know, I don't think they would treat a real woman like that at all.
I guess. And it's just, to anyone that's an outside observer, it just seems odd. Yeah. Because she's obviously so real, and their comfort with that level of technology supersedes ours.
What do you think about the club? What was it called? I don't know. I kept trying to read that sign. And
I didn't see it. It's just a 1950s New Orleans jazz club is the way I looked at it. And I love the fact that they actually had the band interact with him as well, and the piano player says, "Don't quit your day job," or something like that. I mean, even that's realistic to the point where it's giving him shit. You know, it's a nice touch.
I thought it was funny that he was playing the piano by not touching the keys, and of course you couldn't tell back then, but now you can tell. But then I was like, no, it's a holodeck program, so that's fine.
Doesn't make a difference. The music's piped in anyway, right?
Yeah, but I thought that was really cool in the interaction with the other guy in the band. What instrument was he playing? I forget. It wasn't.
I think there was a stand-up bass.
Yeah,
drums and piano. Bass, drums, piano. It was a trio.
Music was good. Listen, Linda. I believe it was her. She commented that she wanted to know what we thought of Dixieland jazz, because they do mention that in this episode that Minuet loves all jazz except Dixieland.
Yeah,
and because she can't dance to it.
I have no strong opinion about Dixieland. It's not my first choice. If it's on, or if I go to a place where they're playing it, I can enjoy it. It's not annoying to me like, I don't know, like salsa music is annoying to me. No offense to anybody who likes salsa music. Dixieland though would be my last choice for jazz, like Minuet. Like if I want like
to me,
to me,
it's not jazz. It's a totally different thing. They should just call it Dixieland, but I don't know. But to me, it depends on the setting. Like if you're in New Orleans, if you're in a New Orleans themed club at Disney or hotel or something, and they're playing it. There's a channel on satellite radio. I don't know if you listen to that one, but like I did a couple weeks of Dixieland just because of this episode, I think.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, I've been to New Orleans, and the clubs that I went to were playing like more traditional 20th century jazz.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there was some Dixieland being played, but I always think of Dixieland as more of like a party, not like a nightclub, because it's just so up. It's got such a different sound, such an up sound. Like, how can she not? You can Charleston to Dixieland if you wanted to.
Yeah,
it's probably a bad dance. And she just wants to slow dance.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well,
so that's why she's
just be odd. But yeah. So I like Dixieland jazz, but it's not my go-to. When I go jazz, I do the smooth jazz on the satellite radio, and I think there's a couple jazz stations in a row, and I'll go back and forth until I hear something.
If I'm not hearing Sade singing "Smooth Peanut Butter," I'm not happy. So
I like the jazz where you feel like you're in a smoky nightclub listening to it. So
yeah, me too. Me too. I like soulful jazz. I like now Wynton Marsalis, but like Charlie Parker and
what's that one album that everybody has? I have that too. Anyway,
what birth of why am I blanking on the guy's name? I learned about him in school. I guess I don't listen to Mark Twain, him. No, I wanted to. Wynton Marsalis is a current. He's like a trumpet player. But we're so ignorant. Anyway, it'll come to me.
You dropped the first As Live F-bomb.
It will come to me.
Oh my goodness. What do we do now?
Anyway, yeah. So yeah, jazz fans out there, school us. I'm just, this is where I'm getting old.
I can picture the cover of their album. I have it out there on my shelf.
Birth of the Cool. Birth of Miles Davis. That's what I'm thinking of.
Thank you.
Miles Davis, Birth of the Cool. Okay. Yes. I knew it would come to me. It's up here. It's up here.
It's a great album.
Yeah. That kind of stuff, like that feel.
Yeah.
So
like this episode has a lot to do with everything. And I for some reason, my brain is fixated in the holodeck with the Riker Minuet story. So let's talk about other things in the episode. I was struck weirdly by the lack of security on the Enterprise. It might be because, they were in space dock. So you think, okay, our car's in the garage, so I'm not going to worry about it as much. Right. But Wesley's on the bridge, running the bridge. Everybody that's pretty much security is playing Parisi squares or something. And it just struck me as like, I want to say pre 9/11, everything's fine, nothing to worry about, versus, now or where it should be then, somebody should be on watch.
Well, I mean, Wesley was. So right there, and I think that's where it's good. It's perfect. For me, it was a perfect setup because you have, like, I think it was a commander from the space station. What was his name? We have it down here. Yeah. His name was Quinteros.
For a long time, I thought he was in on it.
Right. So, but he is the liaison who's in charge of the retrofitting and the upgrades, and he is from the space dock. So it's at Starbase, really. It's not a space dock, but it's his purview and it's his team. And you have to think this is Starfleet going onto a Starfleet vessel so if the Bynars are under his authority, then you have to think that they're vetted. So you can leave an ensign on the bridge to number one. Hey, you take the shit shift, kid, because you're last on the totem pole, and this is how a meritocracy works. You got to earn your stripes. And it's perfect because Wesley loves this kind of stuff. So they're kind of doing him a favor. It's like Mr. Scott going back to read his technical journals. So
thank you, sir.
He gets to feel important. He gets to feel like he's contributing, and he really is. Yeah, and they show him that they trust him. They trust him to keep an eye on it. Like they're just fine with it. Yeah, it's in a very rarefied air here, but
I'm so glad they didn't pull the old Wesley going, I think you should check on the Bynars, please, the boy.
Right. I guess that was another refreshing thing about this episode because they actually treated Wesley with some kind of respect. It was a little weird.
Do you have a request? What is going on? Live stream.
We have a chat request.
Offended. Brent is not offended. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Brent.
We love you, Brent. He is my Canadian friend who is real.
Okay, there we go.
You might know him from Trekaholic episodes he did with me.
I'm going to say Brent is a jazz fan then.
Of course. He's a great man. We share a lot of common interests. Babylon 5 being one of them. I still have a case of the complete series on VHS. I got to send him. of Babylon.
That was going to be my next podcast that I wasn't editing before you wanted to do this. I was going to start a show with Neek from Moon Show, who's also on Cosmic Potato.
I'm so glad I got
talking about Babylon 5. Well, she's never seen it and I've never seen it. So we thought it would be cool for two newbies to watch it.
I've seen it once through and oh my God, it's life-changing. It's amazing.
Yeah, I heard nothing but good things. Yeah,
Brent
so
says
we have
B5. If you go into the chat on the far right of the screen, you'll be.
Yep, I see it. Okay, B5 is alive.
Brent, if you can, feel free to call in. We have that capability. I think there's.
Oh, look at that! Look at that. Well,
yeah.
While
this commander guy, what was his name?
The Commander Quinteros.
Quinteros. Yeah, he seemed like a good actor and a good character. To me, I thought he was in on it. And I still don't have proof he wasn't.
And again, I think we're so conditioned for any authority coming aboard a starship on Star Trek to be a admiral that it's almost a default mindset when you see another part of the brass intruding on your beloved group's bridge. It can only lead to trouble. But this guy seemed just like a genuine officer doing his job.
Yeah.
He's no Jellicoe because nobody can be as awesome as Jellicoe. But
did you see they're making a Jellicoe action figure now?
I did.
A Tuvix one. Tuvix. I'm getting that Tuvix. You know I'm getting
crazy.
That Tuvix.
Crazy shit.
Janeway straight up murdered him.
But this is another thing that, again, being conditioned with different mindsets in Star Trek. The very fact that Starfleet and the world that it inhabits is not only embracing the Bynar homeworld, but relying on it to help them with some of their technology. It once again goes back to every single taboo of the original series about technology run amok. If there's a computer running your society, Kirk has to destroy it. He has to, because he is not of the body, and goddamn it, neither should you be. So, take a hike, Landru. But this is like the Landru world taken to its most extreme, to the apotheosis of, I think I'm using that word right, of right. Like where it would wind up, to the point where the people and the computers at this point are almost indistinguishable, and everybody seems pretty damn okay with that, which is so, again, not Star Trek, which is why I found this interesting. I really thought the Bynars were going to come on and they were going to be like beady beady beady, and then it was going to turn out that they had to, at the end of the episode, be taken off their computer or be knocked down or whatever. Like,
if it was original series, they would have.
Right. It had to be, in my mind, some nefarious intent that they had. And I'm thinking that the writers of Trek knew that the fans would think that, so they were kind of playing with those expectations.
Okay. I see that.
Maybe. But that was another thing that just made this episode so interesting to me, because you have something that on the original series would have been dismissed out of hand being explored in an interesting way.
I found the Bynar whole thing odd because, like I said earlier, they don't have some kind of optical backup. Like right now, there's like a format that's only like, it's like laser etched glass that holds petabytes per disk or something, that they're trying to back up all of the human knowledge on or something. But they don't have anything like that because of like electromagnetic pulses or something. But you would think they would have some kind, like isolinear chips look like something that could withstand any impulse. So I don't know.
Yeah, for me, isolinear, to me, EMP is a great shorthand for wiping out computer cores. It's if you're a nerd, it's kind of a go-to danger. So I had no problem buying that, and the fact that they needed to shut down their system to protect against it. I'm trying to recall. Can you again explain to me why they felt they needed to store everything on the Enterprise computer? Well,
it was a supernova, so it's going to send out some kind of electromagnetic interference. But my understanding is the technology has to be running to be affected by
right.
So
and I thought that they had shut everything down. Yeah, they shut it down, but then they were all dying as a result.
Yeah, so they were really interconnected with it, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Bynars, speaking of those, I love the fact that their outfits were asymmetric and opposite, so they had to walk in a certain way together for the design to work. Like their outfits were designed together, like twinsies or something.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they ever show up again somewhere in the background. I think they probably on Lower Decks have been.
Aren't they on my puzzle?
Yeah.
On my puzzle. Let me grab it.
Are they Bynars or Telosians? It could be either one. It's dealer's choice.
Where are they? Is that a Bynar? What is that?
I can't really see it because it's a little blurry. I'll be able to see it when I watch it. Yeah,
that's a Bynar. You see it when you watch it. Yeah, the blurry stream. But let's just talk. Yeah, totally a Bynar. Oh, and it shows the sash. That's another thing. That sash looked a little bit like a QR code or something. So I wonder if that was like a little data communication thing, like their version of like a T-shirt that we wear that says "I'm what's stupid."
Right. Yeah, so they know who. Okay, you're 10, I'm 01. I mean,
and did you read the credits of this episode?
I did not.
So I guess they.
I have them here. I guess
they put the credits on screen in the beginning of the episode for 10 and 01, but then at the end there's credits for 00 and 11. So I guess that was the name of the other two.
Yeah. I mean, that's
basically that was. How many millions of people are on their planet?
Bynars. And they only have like four digit codes that they can go to.
Apparently, or maybe that was their nicknames. Maybe that was their first names. And they have a longer one because the binary is either 8 or 16 digits, I believe, per character.
Yeah, and these are obviously for 2 digits each for one pairing. So 4 per pair. So how many combinations are there? I can't do math like that. I don't know, but
no, we're not Bynars.
But it was Alexandra Johnson as 10 and Kathy Boyer as 01. Not that that means anything to Ms. Johnson.
I was looking at the title and seeing if it was just all their names combined, but I don't think so because there's an extra digit. I don't know. So what do you think of the Bynars as a race? Like, I found the ending like they could only, that was interesting because binary decision, yes or no. So they couldn't take the chance of asking. That was something. But I think a computer society that advanced would have more than ones and zeros. Like with the quantum computing we're doing right now, we have all different quantum states that, and they'd be way more advanced by then.
Yeah, but I think that, binary code at that point was kind of revolutionary in a sense that also you got to keep it kind of dumb so that I can understand it. So I get it. And like this to me is much more allegorical than realistic.
Yeah. It's using specifics to show the overall messages that, or the story beats that don't necessarily need to rely on that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like shorthand.
So I liked the Bynars as characters. I think, as I said, they're among the more interesting races that we've seen so far on Next Gen. And I think really among some of the more interesting races we've seen up in Star Trek up until that point. I think the only more interesting races come maybe the Vulcans, of course, because we didn't really know anything about them. So at that point, the only thing you really had to go on was like a muck time and then the movies. And the Horta had probably hands down the most interesting creature sort of race in the original series, in my opinion. Devil in the Dark really shows an alien. And I felt like the Bynars harkened back to that kind of feeling for, again, even though they kind of look like Telosians, they were more their own thing.
And they did the same thing with the Telosians. They cast like women, like small women to be the aliens. They almost look like the Greys that, people make up alien abduction stories about and things. Yeah.
And again, they're kind of a mishmash, but an interesting mishmash to me. So I got no problem with them. I wish we could see them more, or that they had done some more stories with them, because I find them interesting. But again, they told the one story that they needed that kind of race to tell, and they moved on.
Did we see a Bynar in Lower Decks, but like a singular one or something like that?
I'm not really sure. I feel like if any place has shown us Bynars, it's going to be Lower Decks.
Yeah. Now, something that bumped me this time that didn't the previous times I watched it was they're non-binary, and then which now we understand what that is more. But and Riker kept saying "gentlemen" and "boys" and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was the vernacular of the time, though.
I guess, yeah, it's just a general thing where I think they established it in, I don't know if it was the novels, or if it was even in the original series where everybody on the bridge was Mr. That was just the Mr. Uhura. It was just the key honorific to save time.
So, yeah, and maybe at that point the male just became genderless, the male pronouns.
Yeah, I mean, so
like guys, almost. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. I didn't notice any of that, so good pointing that out.
Things that bumped me a little bit this time were they were trying to get to the Enterprise, or Data was, maybe with Geordi, and a ship was too small, which makes no sense. That has nothing to do whether they can get there or not. But too slow, that makes sense. But where are all the Starfleet ships at this point? We weren't attacked by the Borg yet. Where are they? Who's protecting Earth?
Well, they're out patrolling. I think that's why this took place, because they're not at Earth. They're at Starbase 74 in the Tarsus 3 system.
Oh, okay.
You keep thinking you're at Space Dock because it's Space Dock.
Yeah. That's right.
And that's what I said. The most spectacular visuals to date on Next Gen. The Enterprise D actually looked good in this episode, and that's a dog of a ship. No, it doesn't.
All about the D.
I know, but that top shot of the D flying onto screen, were the very first shot, and then them revealing Space Dock, Starbase 74, was fantastic. And then they're going into Space Dock, and it had one of my favorite movies is Search for Spock. I've watched it a gazillion times. So when they're stealing the Enterprise out of Space Dock, it's one of the most thrilling moments for me in all of Star Trek. And to go back into that setting and to have the ship fly by while people are inside, and you just sort of see it incidentally floating by the window as it goes to dock. And then they have it where they have the docking ramp between the space dock and the ship, and people going back and forth. It was just, oh my God, we're in an actual universe here. It's not just original series with weird chairs and different carpeting. We're actually now getting into the cinematic universe and seeing more of the Federation as a whole, as opposed to an errant ship here or there, as opposed to seeing yet another Excelsior class ship fly by. So I thought that was fantastic, because I was like, wow, it's like I'm watching a movie, especially, I guess, since they remastered all the effects.
Yeah. So it wasn't Earth. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. I don't know why I missed that or how I missed that. But did you see the 47 in this episode?
No. It's Starbase 74.
That's
there we go.
That counts. It counts.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Sometimes they flip it. But one thing that bothered me was, aren't shuttles warp capable and different things? And the Enterprise was carrying shuttlecraft on there, because even as far, and it's like they didn't think of it, but as far back as, what was it, Star Trek the Motion Picture, Spock was sent to the Enterprise to catch up with him on a shuttle or some kind of pod with some warp.
It was a pod with warp nacelles. It looked like a drone, some kind of drone.
Yeah, I think one of the shuttles could have got there probably, or something, because maybe Space Dock didn't have shuttles. I don't know.
Yeah, why would a Space Dock have shuttles?
So what did you think about the whole Geordi and Data C story in this? Maybe a blind man teaching an android how to paint.
I thought that was fantastic. I think that this episode, another strength of it. Wow, I'm gushing about 11001001. One of the best aspects of it was a lot of pure character. So I really think that we got to see sides of the crew that we hadn't seen before. As I mentioned before, the look between Riker and Picard, fantastic. The fact that now we're establishing an actual relationship between Geordi and Data, fantastic. The fact that Riker can go in there and give them shit and giving them that wry smile and walk out, that little pixie smile he has. I think it's man. Yeah, but one of the few times in season 1 where we see shades of things to come, shades of the true ensemble the show does become.
Yes. It seemed very much like it could have been in a season 3, maybe.
True. And, and I like the fact that everybody has their own thing that they do. You got the Parisi Square gang. You got Beverly, like, Will, leave me alone. I have to go.
She's exciting. I have to go ship. I wish it was Galen Quaist.
Dr. Epstein, right?
Yeah.
It was Dr.
I wish it was Galen Quaist.
Epstein.
That would have been cool, but it wasn't.
Or was it Epstein? But I don't know.
Oh,
So every little bit that wasn't the Bynars stuff, I thought served character in a fantastic way. Even the Wesley stuff with him just standing on the bridge, being super attentive.
That was a little clunky because he's like, he calls down and says, "Sir, you might want to check on something. It looks like there's problems with the antimatter." And then, like in the 2 scenes from that, he's like, or the same scene, but 2 cuts from that, he's like, "Is there anything wrong? What's going on?" So that didn't seem kind of right.
Yeah. I think that if the episode does fall down anywhere, it's just the startling lack of urgency. Like they have less than 5 minutes for the warp core to breach, and they're just moseying on to the thing and saying, "Okay, everybody, we have to evacuate." Haven't we established that this ship is miles and miles and miles long? You could have 1,000 people on the ship and walk down the corridor and not see anybody because it is so freaking huge.
Yeah, it's got to be as big as the Red Dwarf, right? Something like that.
Right. So, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, they're saying that they have less than 5 minutes. They're like 4 minutes and 12 seconds before the warp core breaches. Everybody evacuate, and people are just sort of sashaying along. Moseying to the elevators.
Except for the extras, except for the background actors. Did they pull some of that from Encounter at Farpoint? Because I noticed the guy that you noticed in Encounter at Farpoint with the scant on in the background. And so he was there again. I don't know if he's a standard background actor or if
I'm not really sure
that they didn't use.
I was just happy to see Dude and Scant. Yeah. I don't know that they reused it. If they did, I didn't notice it. But because I was just so taken aback by the fact that the ship at this point probably has 12 seconds before it just gets destroyed.
Yeah, and they're just like,
And they're just like, all right, I guess it's time for us to beam out. Like they're just so chill.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that Data and Geordi got in the turbo lift and then they transported onto the space station. So, like, were they taking the turbo lift down to the transporter room, and they didn't
I think so.
Site or something?
Yeah, why can't they start beaming people off from where they're standing?
Yeah,
using
easily.
Using the starbase. Yeah, using the starbase.
There should be evacuate everybody button.
Yeah, right? pretty much, right? I'm sure that you have cargo transporters there.
Yeah,
that can take in an entire shipment, so you could probably transport a hangar deck full of people at once.
We've seen that transporter in Datalore.
Okay,
and also when they're showing the background actors in the transporter room, and I think Wesley's on the transporter, and there's other kids or something. There's an empty spot, and they're holding people back at the door.
Yeah, right. And again, the ship's going to explode in 35 seconds. And then another thing that doesn't work is like they count down to 0 and the ship is just then pulling away. It's still in the starbase.
Yeah.
You got to think that it's going to take at least a minute to clear those damn doors.
They should have started moving it immediately, but people were evacuating by like a tube also. A physical connection.
So it made no sense. Like the timing of that was just so, and that was just example one.
Exactly. And again,
it happens again.
That.
Yeah. I mean, when Picard and Riker find out that, something's happening, what's the first thing we should do? Go to the bridge? No, the first thing we should do is go all the way down to engineering, set the auto destruct sequence, and then talk about it for about a minute and a half before we even think about going up to the bridge. Oh, yes, and it's a 5-minute countdown.
Yeah, 5-minute countdown. That was the
again.
Scene. As you know, it's only 5 minutes. That's all we can do.
But it's just like you set this and you get to the bridge probably with 12 seconds to spare before you even know what's going on in the bridge.
Even before they leave engineering, they're like, that's odd. Look at this screen. Yeah, that is odd. This is weird. 5 minutes to explosion.
You guys in the 24th century need to evolve your sense of urgency. Is all.
Yeah, they have no sense of urgency. They got to work on that. I would give them a review that they need to work on that. Yeah.
I just thought of this is apropos of nothing, maybe going back a little bit of a tangent. I was thinking, like, would we ever see like the Bynars on Strange New Worlds? And wouldn't it be amazing if we had the Bynars somehow involved in a scene where Kirk gets wounded or hurt? And that's where he gets his pathological hatred of all automated societies. And it's basically like he's in therapy with Troy, and Troy's saying, point to the doll where the Bynar hurt you.
I would watch that. Yeah, that stuck out. That's probably the biggest thing that bumped me was the 5-minute countdown that they didn't care about.
Yeah. Yeah,
I don't think you have to set self-destruct, like, especially that timing. I mean, they could have tried to take the ship back.
Yeah, well, they're saying, the first thing we have to do is make sure that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. You have these people crawling through your computer core. They can get every single secret that the ship has and download it to their own brains. And then carry it away. It's like all of a sudden you don't trust them with the secrets of the Enterprise. They've been mucking around in your underwear drawer for the last hour and a half.
The only reason the Bynars didn't shut off the self-destruct program, because they could have, because they're Bynars, was because they were unconscious.
Okay.
They could have got around whatever security, I'm sure.
You're right. I never even thought of that. Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, good point. Huh.
So there was no radios in this episode, but there was a jukebox.
That's how you knew it was the 50s. It was the Wurlitzer, right? They had the Wurlitzer.
Was it? It looked like one. Yeah. Now I want that one. I've got a different jukebox, but now I want that one. Do I get that one or the one from Back to the Future?
I think you should get all three and then just have Jukebox Palooza. Have dueling jukeboxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I actually want a CD jukebox. That's what I'm on the lookout for now. I don't know why.
I wonder why.
Well, let's see. Before we give our final thoughts and ratings of this episode, is there any other thing in your notes, if you want to look at them really quick, that we didn't talk about that we want to talk about? I'm looking at mine right now.
I did like the continuity that they introduced here. The fact that the Bynars were not only enhancing, but repairing some of the damage from the Bug People's probe during the Dixon Hill episode. So
so that was continuity.
I didn't continuity think there that we don't normally get in like a season 1 episode.
Was that the Harada?
I guess so. Right?
It's the modem sound. Welcome. You've got mail.
Right. Let's see. Interconnected mass computer. Got that. Wes.
The
Wes
other
doesn't like the looks of them Bynars.
The other thing, I guess they didn't know they could eject the warp core yet. Because
Yeah,
that's what the problem they were having,
thing.
Right? They should have listened to Shax and ejected the warp core.
True. They didn't do that yet. And then it became like the go-to move in every movie after that. We have to eject the warp core. We should keep a few spare ones around.
Let's see.
Yeah, no.
Another page of notes. Okay.
Yeah, let's see. I think I'm all right with this. I think I got everything out I needed to.
Okay, you go.
Okay, you first. You said one thing.
One thing that this episode reminds me of is, I don't know if you saw the Reading Rainbow that they did for Star Trek The Next Generation filming. I think you got to check it out. It's on YouTube and it's everywhere. But part of it, I think they interview, I want to say Rob Legato about the special effects. And they show the shot of the shuttle flying inside the starbase by the Enterprise D. And the warp nacelles on the shuttle are just disposable Bic razor handles. So every time I see this episode, I think I'm looking at the Bic razor handle. Yeah, he was just showing like what they use to make it look advanced and stuff. So it just sticks out as a memory from my childhood. You got to watch that. It's great.
All right. Oh, okay. You answer me a question.
Yeah.
Why is the general computer on the bridge and the holodeck, why is it Magil and the engineering computer is a dude?
Two different voices. What were they doing?
What was that all about?
Were Magil and Jean fighting or something? Was she not able to do it all that thing? I've never heard that computer male voice before or after. Or was it something that the Bynars were doing that affected it? It was just odd. It was weird. Yeah, I don't like that voice. I want Majel as every computer voice. I would pay to have her on my Alexa, to have her on my Siri, to have her on my Chat GPT. I had Scarlett Johansson on my Chat GPT, and when they canceled her, then I just uninstalled it because none of the other voices really did it for
me. You're Joaquin Phoenix.
In her, right? Yes.
Her, yes.
Yeah, that's a sad, unfortunate thing. The other thing I have down is the ending was clunky to me, just because I work with computers and live on computers and do stuff a lot with technology. Mm-hmm. They couldn't revive the Bynars and redo the program to send it because they didn't know the file name of the computer program to restart the data dump reversal, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who uses computers knows you can sort things by date modified. You can go to your whole computer, sort by date modified. The top things will show up, and there's the last things you did. That's a big clunky error, big bump.
All I know is that the data dump reversal is my favorite position during holodeck sexy
times. My other question is, what did Minuet smell like? Because
she smelled like sex.
No, I want to say like some kind of beautiful perfume. Maybe
and sex.
Not already. Maybe already. Maybe it was a brothel, not a club, or maybe she was just popular.
No, I'm teasing. Yeah. I think that one of the lines that I like, there are two of them that they're just. I don't think that throwaway lines. There's probably more to parse with these two, but
I have my favorite.
Well, I love when she asks Riker about his work, and he says, "Work is me; it's what I am." Mm-hmm. And she says, "You're very fortunate to be where you want to be, and it's great that you realize it." And just to have someone living in the moment with gratitude instead of, again, with a meritocracy, you are always striving. You're always trying to do more, go over that next hill, discover that next species of moss. I think that having Riker almost being an outlier, being super competent, but knowing exactly he's where he wants to be and he's not interested in chasing that next thing. Mm-hmm. I kind of like it. And they do address this a lot more as it goes on. Even in season 1, they have some of this stuff. Like, why don't you have a command of your own yet?
Is this the start of that, or did they mention that?
I feel like it's the start of it, or maybe I'm just reiterating it. Maybe this episode reiterated that aspect of the character to me, and I can't really parse in my mind where it began.
I want to say they kind of mentioned it with the Riker and Deanna story in Haven, where she was basically saying, if you wanted me, you could have had me. You just chose Starfleet instead, something like that.
Yeah. There was that too. You're right. Yep. So Riker's great loves.
Is your other line my line that I like?
Go ahead. You tell me.
What is a computer rated? What is a? Damn it! I had it. What is a knockout like you doing in a computer generated gin joint like this?
Yeah, I thought that was so clunky and cringe. That,
I want to use that in real life.
You can have that line. It's yours. I'm not going to fight you for it.
Was that written down though? Is that what you had?
No. I just had it. Where is it?
So last time in Vegas, I tried the "Do you like Star Trek?" and that kind of worked. So next time I'm going to try the computer rated gin joint line to see if that works.
All right. We already said as real as you need me to be. Again, that speaks to more. Yeah,
we're saying it's sex and mentioning sex, but I think it might also have to do with like relationships and stuff. So who knows?
Oh, well, here's the thing. Now, this is kind of like Jean-Luc's take on love, and she calls him, "You're so French." Doesn't love begin the same, with the illusion more real than the woman?
That is true.
There's a lot of philosophical stuff to parse there. I don't know that we have got another hour to go into Jean-Luc's theory on love, but another thing that just made the character come to life, gave him so much depth. Mm-hmm. So
I think that's very accurate. And you meet a person twice. You meet the illusion, and if you like the illusion, then you meet the real person, and that's when you know whether or not you like them, I think. Sometimes it only takes a few weeks. Sometimes it takes 7 or 9 years. You don't know.
Well, I think that is an excellent observation to end this illusion that we know what we're talking about. Who's your episode crush?
Wow. Okay. I'm going to go out. Nobody's going to know this is actually a thing. But I'm going to say it was Carolyn McCormick as Minuet.
Who's that now?
She's
Minuet?
One of my forever crushes, for real.
Was she in the episode? This Minuet you speak of?
It was something about the whole episode that made such an impression on me. And I think I've always been my whole life searching for my own Minuet, and I just never found her.
Gotcha.
I love Minuet. I'm in love with Minuet. Who's your episode crush?
I'm going to go a little bit more prurient than that. I know that the Bynars were non-binary asexual beings, but there was one scene where 01 and 10 were walking away. And it's like, no, those are some pretty hot chicks.
I know the scene you're talking about. And I would agree.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. The hips. Ooh, okay.
They don't lie.
Yeah. So I would say that is my episode crush. What's your favorite part? Or do you want me to go or you want to go?
You can go. Your favorite part of the episode?
I think my favorite part of the episode, and this might sound like a cop-out, but it's just the episode. It's just how rich and interwoven everything was in this to make it. Again, it's the kind of thing where it's kind of meandery. It's kind of loosey-goosey, but at the end of the day, it's much more than the sum of its parts. Because everybody has a little chance to shine. There's just a little bit of good character stuff for everybody to get lost in. And then the main story turns out to be way more interesting than you think it's going to be. It's subverts your expectations. So these sound like closing thoughts too, but my favorite part of the episode is the episode.
Yeah,
how about you?
I want to agree with you. I think the whole thing is just, as a whole, my favorite part of the episode. Of course, the holodeck stuff with Minuet, I really love. Just getting to know Riker more, I really enjoyed that. Those are favorite parts of my episode. So I think that's good. But I got a couple more thoughts that I didn't mention before. Normally we'd edit it to be before, but we'll go with it now. So double cleanup, like in the holodeck after Riker uses it. A couple things. Data. Okay. He's trying to be like a human. He doesn't have emotions. He doesn't struggle with the foibles that we do. Right. And he's blaming himself for not being on the bridge. So is he trying to emulate humanity, or do you think he's got humanity in him? He's just acting like he doesn't still, because there's competing theories of the whole series.
Yeah. I've heard this argument before, mainly on Mission Log.
Yeah, me too.
When Ken was hosting it before.
Well, I switched off when they switched off.
Yeah, me too. So I mean, I don't really care about that distinction. To me, it's academic. Whether Data is programmed to emulate some kind of human emotion just so that he fits in a little bit better, or whether or not he is striving to feel it and is just affecting it in order to fit in better, to me, it all amounts to the same thing. It's Data trying to be Data and trying to fit in more fully and integrate himself into the society that he wants to be a part of. So I don't really think it makes a difference whether or not, and I think they do a great job in First Contact and in Generations of really showing that distinction between the genuine emotion as it goes haywire and this first, and I guess throughout the most of Next Gen, the original run, the series run of does he have emotions? Is he just programmed to seem like he has emotions? Well, at what point is the distinction academic? And to me, it's always been academic. But so what about you? What do you think about that?
I think Data has emotions this whole time. I just don't think he can verbalize or define it as emotions, and he's almost kind of hiding behind that he has no emotions for the longest time, and it's kind of like he wears a mask. Masaka. But that's what I think. So I think he has this feeling of like self-doubt and like, oh my goodness, this is my fault. I did this. If he didn't have emotions, he'd be like, well, I made the best decision, but it wasn't right, and move on. So I think.
Yeah, you're probably right. Okay.
I love the ending of this. This is my last thing I think I have. The ending of this, that Picard is kind to the Bynars. He's not upset. He's not vengeful that they stole the ship. He understands the situation they were in, and he that's why they're there a lot of times, is to help people, help societies, help out. And he understands that they did what they had to do, and yeah, there's still going to be a hearing, and they're going to do that stuff, but he's not Kirk and going to knock them out.
Right.
So he's like, okay, well, no one was hurt, and you saved your people. Okay, let's head back. So I really like that ending.
I like that. That's one of the things that I love most about the first season, is just when you think that there should be a fist fight or something, they always turn the other cheek, go on a higher road, a more let's communicate and understand one another road. And then I also got to think that, Picard is also more sympathetic because, again, they've just read every single computer file there ever was about the history of the Federation. And they got a lot of bad karma to make up for here, especially. So you did read about this guy, Kirk, right? So, yes, sorry about that whole Andrew thing, but we're not going to do that to you. So,
I'm not of the body, but a couple weeks I might have to act like I'm part of the body. So we'll see. Okay. So could you, for people at home, could you tell them how they could give us their opinion on 01001001 0010000011011000110111101110111011011 011001001 00100100000.
Call an ambulance. You can go to patreon.com/Treksploration. You can also find us on Instagram at Treksploration Pod. You can X us at Treksploration. You can email us, TreksplorationPod@gmail.com. Call us on the phone, not at 00 whatever Albie just said, but at 707-847-6682. That's 707-847-6682. You can also P.O. Box us, P.O. Box 542, Bayport, New York, 11705. Just like Linda sent us the beautiful, beautiful missive. Thank you, Linda, again. And you can also get us on youtube.com at Treksploration. You can comment right down below in the comments section. Did we ever do our Trek and Tell or our trivia?
That's coming up next, I think, right?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that next. What do you got?
I had Linda's thing.
I'm going to show this real quick, just because I have the continuing series of the Galoob action figures.
Yes.
This is Geordi LaForge.
Geordi LaForge, the blind man.
The blind man that taught the android how to paint.
Yes. Cool.
So very proud of that one.
Season one uniform.
Absolutely, he's still in red burgundy.
Nice. I like it with the little piping on the shoulders.
Now I got to put my retinox on.
I mean, if it's a season one uniform, he's got to.
It should be. I think these came out with season one.
With the front zipper.
Zipper, yes. And piping.
Front zipper and the weird piping, which is kind of reminiscent of
and
the
a phaser and
right?
a tricorder. And if anyone wants to send us, I don't have the phaser and I don't have the Enterprise D. Or the Ferengi, I think. I think they released a Q, but I don't think I have Q. All right, so that's that. I wanted to show off another thing that I got in the mail this week. It's not really Star Trek, but people that like Star Trek might enjoy it.
Okay.
A new Aliens documentary. It's like 3 hours, I want to say.
Holy crap.
282 minutes. And Serenity and I are in the credits of this documentary.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They got the director, the stars, everybody that was involved that still survives, and talking about it. I was able to watch the digital copy because I'm a backer of it. It's called Aliens Expanded. I haven't opened it yet, but if you're an Aliens fan, check that out. I was talking to the editor of Quantum Leap 2022, Ian Mayberry, that I had that 3-hour conversation with. Awesome guy.
Yeah.
I noticed he had a Aliens book in the background of his like Zoom set that he uses. So that cool. We off air, we talked a lot about aliens. So I sent him, me and him have been talking about this documentary ago. Came with a certificate. I think this makes me a doctor. I'm not sure. Like, I'm not going to practice medicine, but I might be a doctor of aliens. I'm not sure. So that was pretty cool.
Okay. I mean, that's something. We'll call you Phlox.
Yeah, I'll put it with my Dudism documents. You know, I'm an ordained minister in Dudism. I can marry people.
Wow. On the holodeck.
Yeah, Big Lebowski stuff. Yeah, on the holodeck. Yes. I got a mission patch.
Awesome. I like that.
That's pretty cool. So I'm probably going to put that on my Station 823 uniform. And it came with a couple posters, which are really cool. Has different artwork and stuff. So check that out. Aliens Expanded if you haven't seen it. And then look for mine and Serenity's name on the end.
Awesome.
Just a little show and tell after my Trek and Tell. All right, Aliens final thoughts. Expanded. You like aliens?
Trivia. I got to do your trivia.
Oh, trivia. Okay. Who's asking who?
I like Alien 3 best, I think. Anyway.
Alien 3 is good. A lot of people hate it. They don't like it. I love it.
I don't know why.
What's his name? The guy, Charles S. Dutton. Thought he was great in it. Was he in that?
Yes, he was.
I think so.
He certainly was. All right. It's time for me to ask you 3 questions.
Yes. You got me for 3 questions.
Thank you. As is tradition. In the motion picture Nemesis, who orders Captain Picard on a mission to Romulus?
Is that Admiral Nechayev? Oh, no, wait, Janeway. Down. It's Janeway.
No, sorry, you already got it wrong.
Oh, no, I had a dream about Admiral Nechayev.
Okay.
Janeway? Was it Janeway?
It was Janeway. Yeah, it is Janeway.
Oh, yes. That's spoilers for Voyager, right? A little bit.
Oh, no. I mean, if anybody's seen Prodigy. Anyway.
Yeah, or Lower Decks. Yeah. Rennie watched, she still hasn't finished Voyager. We're watching it like as we go. But she saw the Lower Decks where the Voyager became a museum, and she's like, well, I guess they made it back.
What device does Dr. McCoy mistakenly leave behind on Sigma Iosha 2 in the original series episode, A Piece of the Action?
A communicator.
That is correct, sir.
Woo!
All right. Now, this is going to take a Star Trek actor and bring them out of your comfort zone. James Cromwell plays Warp Drive creator Zephram Cochrane in the motion picture First Contact.
Yes.
Name the film for which he received an Oscar nomination for playing Farmer Hoggett.
Is it Babe?
It is Babe. La, 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 la.
Not Babe, Pig in the City, or Babe the Revenge, or Babe, This Time It's Personal.
Babe 5, The Reckoning.
Babe 6, Jason Takes Manhattan. No, Babe Takes Manhattan. That's it. Of course, Babe 10, where he's in space just trying to kill everybody.
Right. Babe X.
Yeah, Babe X.
Babe X, son of Babe.
James Cromwell, love him. Enterprise. But do you know who was supposed to originally play Zephram Cochrane in the movie? Did you hear that bit of trivia?
Charlton Heston.
Tom Hanks. That would have been amazing. Scheduling, he couldn't do it.
Really?
Yeah, it was supposed to be Tom Hanks. But James Cromwell.
I had no idea. That
would have been a great film, right? I think it would have got a little bit more at the box office. But
no, I kind of like James Cromwell because he disappears into the role. If it's Tom Hanks, it's always all about Tom Hanks. It's like saying Tom Cruise is going to play somebody.
You're always seeing Tom Cruise and not the character. You're right.
The only time Tom Cruise is blended in seamlessly where you won't even really know it's him, I think it's in Tropic Thunder when he plays the agent, but he's in so much makeup. He plays
you can't tell. You can't tell it's him.
You can't tell it's him. Yeah. So
Tom Cruise, yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Tom Hanks. I think that Tom Hanks would have been misguided. It's kind of like saying Eddie Murphy was almost in Star Trek 4. Thank God they didn't get him.
There is probably a universe that's only like 0.03% different than our universe where Eddie Murphy and Tom Hanks were in Star Trek movies.
It's where Eddie Murphy is Captain Kirk and Tom Hanks is Mr. Spock. And William Shatner starred in Big, and Leonard Nimoy is Beverly Hills Cop. So
I would watch all of that. I really would. All right. So final thoughts and ratings. Is that where we're at? What are we doing?
Yeah. Final thoughts and ratings.
Why do I have Nechayev on my mind? She was cute for
I don't know. All right.
Just saying.
Is she sheer hubris?
Oh no. She is not.
Okay. Anyway, so final thoughts. I gave my final thoughts kind of when we were wrapping up earlier.
Okay, yeah.
So
more. Yeah, I mean, the final
fantastic episode of The Next Generation. One of the standouts of season 1, to be sure, if not the best episode so far. I'm not really sure that they get better than this in season 1, but I would say that this is so far in terms of next gen and all timer. Very good on character stuff, very good on story and philosophy stuff, very good on the big questions that Star Trek loves to cover and tackle and make us think about. And it's just everything good about Trek and everything that becomes great about Next Gen is all here. So I give this episode 5 Xylo eggs out of 5.
5 Xylo eggs out of 5.
How about you?
I'll echo a lot of what you're saying. I forget about this episode. And like, I remember Minuet, of course, because I have a lifelong crush on her, but like, I forget how good this episode is. And it gets better every time I watch it. I think I watched it 4 times probably in the past week or so. It really is a standout. And when I think about standout episodes in season 1, I always think about The Big Goodbye. To me, it's just a fun, good episode. I like the holodeck episodes. But this one, I want to say it's better. And it has a lot of heart, and that's not something you get a lot of in the first 2 seasons of Next Gen. I think they try it here and there, but I think in this episode, it really works. And just a great episode all around. The little things that bump me don't really bother me. So I'm going to give it, this is where I normally edit out when I'm trying to think of what to do. I think I wrote down something somewhere, but I don't remember what it was. I'm going to give it 9. I don't want my thing to be basic. See, this is where I struggle. Welcome to behind
I just happened to write down Xylo eggs, so I had them right there handy. They were low-hanging fruit, or eggs, as the case may be.
All right, I'm going to give it 9 looks between Riker and Picard thinking with each other that, are you okay with a threesome? I think I'm okay with a threesome.
Number 1, we might cross swords. Number 1, are you okay with that?
Yes. I think I saw that movie once. And
okay,
it was the wrong movie, I guess.
You got to take off those Oculus Rift things. Anyway.
No, this was old school VHS. I still think I have it. It was the Next Generation. Sex Trek, The Next Generation. I'm sure everybody's seen it.
All right. You tell us what's coming up next.
What is coming up next? Yes. I don't know if I said what my least favorite episode of Star Trek, The Next Generation, but it's coming very, very soon. Our next Star Trek The Next Generation episode that we're talking about is season 1, episode 16, Too Short a Season. So we go from the high highs to the low lows, maybe. We'll see. I might love this episode. Who knows?
It might be
Probably
great.
don't.
Might be
I might burn the VHS live on camera next week. Don't know.
Stay tuned.
Yeah. VHS, we got Bynars, $14.95 in 1995. That was a lot of money back then, right? I don't know.
I guess.
So, but this is not the next time we speak to you because we got some bonus episodes. Could you tell us about the bonus episodes, Chris?
Well, the next bonus show, you got to tell me what we're doing. We just this week, yesterday or today, was the premiere of season 5 of Lower Decks, the final season.
Episode 1 and episode 2.
Episode 1 and episode 2, which I watched just before we got on mic tonight.
Woo! You watched it?
Yeah. So
Awesome.
we're going, and I'm going to watch it again tomorrow because we were supposed to talk about the series premiere of Strange New Worlds on our next bonus show, but we've been eclipsed. We've been eclipsed by New Trek. So we are definitely going to be talking about Lower Decks season 5, Dos Cerritos for sure. I don't know if we're going to do both episodes.
And if you're not bilingual, that means 2 Cerritos.
Thank you. Wow, I didn't understand.
and of course, Shades of Green, which is a play on Shades of Gray. Which I wish they put some data. Something's got me in that, but they didn't. But Shades of Green, yeah. So they're 2 separate episodes, but they go together. So I don't know if we're going to do 1 show or 2 mini shows. We'll see what we do.
Yeah, and are we going to be doing now weekly recaps of?
I think so, because I think that's the way to get a broader audience, because people are going to be looking for recaps.
Okay, now
those episodes.
These technically were supposed to be bonus shows, but are we going to do it like we did Disco and just have the?
Well, here's coming part of the other changes. My life changes with the editing and with the lives. The change up is I don't think the bonus episodes are going to be behind a paywall because I think we're going to be going live with them, and I think we're just going to rely on our listeners, viewers to just join our Patreon and support us that way because of the goodness of their heart.
Okay. All right. I mean, you're the showrunner. It says so right on your little tag over there. So.
I typed that in. I tried to type yours in as first officer, but I couldn't. Maybe you have to type that in. I'm not sure.
Maybe. I don't know. Well, okay. Well, it sounds good to me. And
yeah, because we're not doing this for the money. We're doing it for the love of Star Trek and for the love of each other. I love you, Chris. And I consider you one of my best friends, and I love talking to you. It's a highlight of my dreary life that I have half the week without Serenity. So I want to keep doing this. And I think people, will respond. And a lot of people work that way. They just basically work on tips. So will they be taxed or not? I don't know.
But hey, get out, go vote.
Go vote. I voted with Serenity. Was it yesterday? I think I voted yesterday. So I actually moved the sticker from the other shirt to this shirt tonight. I didn't wear this voting, but I did have green hair while I voted. Old people were like looking at me weird, but
they thought you were Dean Stockwell. Anyway,
with the green hair, right? Yep.
There we go.
But yeah, go vote, and yeah, support us on Patreon and where else? And did you read all that stuff again?
Yeah, I read it. I read it all again.
All right, so are we good? Did we do everything?
I think it's time for us to warp on out of here.
All right. So how did you, just final thoughts on the As Live? What did you think?
I thought it was fine. It was just a regular show for me.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So no changes on this end.
Hey, Brent says good show, guys. So thank you, Brent.
Well, thank you, Brent. Thank you for sticking with us, Brent.
Join us sometime so we can get a larger Canadian audience. That would be great.
Yeah, we gotta start a little earlier. It's like 1:18 in the morning here and my eyes are closing. So
yeah. And I'm just waking up. You know me.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
for Treksploration, I'm Albie.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.